somewhere around 7th standard, my mom figured it out that something in her which will probably be in the creative industry. So I would look at those art and I would feel like even I want to do something. The interest started like way back in my childhood.
So many people, they say, okay, I feel I don't know how to face my parents, I don't know how to face my friends. They lock themselves inside.
Yeah.
And they don't have that courage to go and face to the world and tell people, I failed. It's absolutely
The way to make money is a very different thing and being creative is a very different thing. There are two different things. For you to be able to bridge both of this is like an art, like seriously. So
it's definitely not a one woman show.
No,
You
it is
definitely
a
need
team.
an army for
Yeah.
this, right? Because once you start getting and adding up more projects, you need to start also, hunting for more resources. Okay, that is when you start adding
Yeah.
new projects and all. Welcome to Midway Masters, a podcast where mid career meets mastery. I'm your host, Shalini. You are in the space of unlocking the secret of success in the middle of your professional journey. Whether you are climbing the ladder, switching your gears, or sharpening your leadership edge, we are here to equip you with the tools and the insights to help you turn your mid career into a masterpiece. Each episode, we sit down with professions who've been there, done that, and are ready to share their game changing strategies which have helped them grow at their own paths. So let's get ready to learn, grow, and elevate together. Today's episode, we have Nitya Shri. So, Nitya basically comes from a different variety of profession. She's been an art lover since 7th standard and had a dream of becoming an architect. Right? After that, she stopped her 10th grade and actually had a failure in her 12th grade. Right? So different graph of lifestyle that she has. So let's dive deep in and talk about her achievements, her success story, how she's come over this long way. Right? Hi Nitya, thank you so much for coming in today. How have you been?
I've been good. Like, it's lovely here being with you, speaking to you. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
After I read through the river of your life, I had a lot of questions in mind. So
Yeah.
definitely I'm going to shoot up those questions and I need
I'm
a lot
ready.
of clarity on those. Because I like the way you said, you started off dreaming of becoming an architect right from 7th standard.
Yeah.
Okay. How was your childhood?
So I think I was a very notorious child. I gave like a very hard time to my mom. I was very naughty. I think from beginning I had like an inclination towards art. So my dad is into a framing business. So I would see him like frame artworks and a lot of artists used to visit him. So I would look at those art and I would feel like even I want to do something. The interest started like way back in my childhood. And even in school, I think I've always been a child who is into multiple things. I've always been into more of the extracurriculars than on studies. So I think somewhere around 7th standard, my mom figured it out that, okay, this child has something in her which will probably be in the creative industry. So she slowly I think she has been like a major person who's kind of streamlined my career and my talents into one single thing, and she's figured out that okay, she can be an architect. So that's how she helped me.
At that grade, passion for art is something different.
Yeah.
But what struck your mind to be an architect? Because that age, if you see, passion for love, colors, sketching is something different.
Correct.
Whereas an architect is at that upper level, right? So why that thought at that age to say, okay, I want to be an architect?
So I think even when I was just like a small kid, I would play with these Lego blocks and then I would play for it with hours and hours and then not stop. So my mom always saw this thing in me with. And then even during school and all, I would walk in the street, I would keep looking at buildings. I'm like, oh, this is like that. I would be so fascinated by buildings. So I think it started way back in. And then kind of when I look back, they all connected. The dots always connected. Like the being creative, then again somewhere having this, because architecture again is like a combination of art, there's tech and there's science also. It's like a mix of all the three. So all the three interests were there and they all came together in the form of architecture.
I hear that you said that, at child you were very notorious.
Yeah.
I hope you're still carrying the same here.
I try. Yeah.
Yeah, you've still not come over that. I think you still carry the same thing, right?
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, but life again is. So we always have to have that child within us, because again, being creative, a lot of the thing comes from a sense of, being in a state of play. So you cannot be stressed and very firm and be creative at the same time. You have to let yourself free and then go with the flow in order even for your creativity to come in. You cannot be very firm and
Very
creative
right.
at
And
once,
I think of late what I have seen is the art, the sketch that you drew basically is also removes your anxiety and depression.
Yeah,
right?
it is. So one thing I would do a lot is I enjoy painting a lot. So when I am painting, right, I just forget about everything else. I'm like so involved. I can go without eating, I can go without sleep and everything. For hours and hours and hours I can paint. It just removes all the negative emotions. Your emotions kind of...
That's what you draw in. You
Yeah.
draw your emotions, right? Of late, I think, as a mandala therapist right now, I also see the kind of colors that you put in talks about your personality and talks about the current emotions that you're going through.
Yeah,
Right?
very true.
Right, especially when I do some sessions on the workshop for mandalas. So people, when they start drawing, right, that is when I've seen their emotions coming out. Few of them have actually cried out.
Yeah.
And few of them put in lot of bright and then bold colors that shows what kind of a personality that they are and what their emotions are going through currently. I think you want to talk more about it. How do you do it?
With the architecture, I do, like, to an extent, a house defines a person's personality. So there are a lot of people who want their house to be very subtle. They want very minimal colors. That also speaks about their personality. But there are certain people who want their house to be colorful, and then that speaks about they're very joyous. They want the house to be very welcoming. So your house, it also reflects in your colors, the type of colors that you choose. It even defines your, some people, even in your fashion sense, the type of colors that you pick to wear for your clothes. Yeah, it all comes together. So I think
I know
colors...
7th standard had a dream of becoming an architect. You top at your 10th standard. What happens to 12th standard?
So I think majority of the kids till 10th you're tamed a bit, so you are into a proper systematic thing. You don't have that much freedom. But what happens when you go to 11th, specifically in Karnataka, where we have the PUC system, where you have so much freedom. So I would like go out with my friends, party and all that. But then when the exams came, it was a shock for me as well. So I had flunked in my chemistry exam in my 12th. So I was very sad. I was very, I started crying when the results came out. But to my surprise, I didn't expect my parents to react the way they reacted. So they took a pause. They allowed me to cry for like some time, for an hour or so. And they're like, come, let's go. We are going out. We are going to celebrate your failure. That's what they said. I'm like,
that's amazing.
What? I was in a shock. Then they were like, no, because in life you're always going to have ups and downs. When you try to do something new as well, you're not going to succeed in the first attempt itself. So this is a lesson for you as well, that even no matter what, you have to celebrate your successes and your failures, because your failures teach you a lot more than your successes ever will, right? So
I think in that ways I agree with you. The learnings that we've had, just to give you all an update, that we completed our ETD certification together under one of the mentor. Okay, I think the takeaways for us was always put your failures and success in front of you and
not in your
here.
head. Yeah.
I think that's one of the best examples that your parents have actually
see them
given,
equally,
right?
because
Exactly.
both of them play a huge role. Actually, failures play a lot more. They teach you a lot more about yourself, who are true to you, who's going to going to stand by you no matter what, all those situations. So
How was your emotions when your parents actually decided to celebrate your failure? What kind of emotions and what was running in the back of your mind?
I think first thing was like shock. What are they doing? Because there's already a lot of pressure on a child when it comes to 10th and 12th, right? So we see a lot of kids, they commit suicide because of the pressure that they have. I didn't have any of those pressures. I was very clear I wanted to get into architecture, but this was a hurdle even in my dream to get into architecture, right? So I was very heartbroken. But then after they cheered me up and then they took me out, we went on a nice grand dinner, we went to movies, we had fun and all. So it kind of felt like, okay, this is something that I've slipped and fallen down, but I can get back up. It's not a big thing is what I kind of concluded from that.
I think that's one thing we need to accept, right?
Yeah.
I think of late, the parents and the kid, the kind of bonding that they have, it's fine to fail. It is okay to fail.
Yeah.
Okay, it is not that my child always have to receive a grade of A grade and A plus
Absolutely.
grade. It is fine to fail sometimes. I think what was the lessons that you learned after you said, okay, this did
It's
not
okay
crack through?
it's okay to fall, but learn from that and get back up immediately. So I did immediately after a month, I wrote my supplementary exams and cleared it. I didn't even get to waste like a year.
Yeah.
So I immediately got into college. But then that phase kind of taught a lot.
That's very nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, because all of your friends are like moving forward and then
Correct.
you are stuck in one place. So that's a lot of.
How was your emotions when you actually had to speak to close friends, because they
I
know
didn't
you
speak
very well?
to any of them, but there are only like a few friends, 2 friends who actually came by. They helped me clear the exam also. They helped me through it. And even now they are my best friends. So
very nice.
I kind of, that's when we actually bonded. So it shows you who are your true friends as well. Family is of course always there with you no matter what, but I think friends also who stand by you. A lot of the people with whom I had fun, they were not there. They had moved on,
Moved on,
But
yeah.
there are some people who actually came. They helped me. They helped me with my studies, and they helped me move on.
I
So,
think you stood by yourself, believed in yourself.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
was very important. I think so many people, they say, okay, I feel I don't know how to face my parents, I don't know how to face my friends. They lock themselves inside, okay?
Yeah.
And they don't have that courage to go and face to the world and tell people, I failed. It's absolutely fine. I think that's a very good example, the way you came over that cycle and then, said, I'm going to bounce back. It's fine to fail. It's okay to fall down. Let me get up and move ahead.
yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
That's one thing very inspiring, and thanks for just sharing your story about how well you stood up for yourself, and of course, yes, somebody backing up you, saying that it's fine, dude. Let's move forward.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay. After you complete your graduation, what made you get into the mentoringship? Like, what made you take up your certification as a coach?
So one major thing is that in architecture, I think not only architecture, even it could be engineering or any profession as such, there's like a huge gap between your college and your professional life once you get into whatever career you choose to. The bridge is very uncertain. So what you learn in college versus what you do after you get out is very different. There's so many things that you have to learn and adapt to after you get out of college. But that gap, when I actually took up mentorship, in architecture we were only taught about the creative aspect. How do you design is the only thing that you're taught. But after this, if I want to start my own business, I don't know anything about money, right? So I might have a skill, but if I don't know how to market that skill and to sell that skill, what's the point? You won't reach the people that you actually want to help you. You have that creativity, but how will you help if you don't know how to actually go approach them and then speak about it? So I learned a lot about business through mentorship, and also I think I figured out a lot about my own self, my own values, and what direction in life that I want to head towards. So that was a lot.
See, the graph for you has been top and then gone down and then up. Okay, what were your self-realization? What was your self-awareness? When did you actually realize what were your potentials? So was it sometime during your college days to understand about, okay, this is my vision and this is where I want to go forward, okay?
Yeah.
Because, going up, down, Did you even fear back saying that, okay, 12th didn't go well, I know I bounced back, do I really going to do it well in further? Will I be able to fulfill the dream of becoming an architect? How did you face that journey?
So I think after 12th was difficult for me because it was a very science and the chemistry, although it was just above my head. I could not kind of do with it. But once I entered architecture, the main thing was that I loved all the subjects. Majority, the design part, I loved it, and I would like really do really well in all the design subjects. So once I was able to see that no, my skill is something else and I'm doing good in my skill, I had that confidence that, I don't care if I did bad in something else which I was not good at, but I have my own strengths and I'll acknowledge that and I'll move forward in the same direction, which is what I've taken a step towards. So I didn't have any of the negative self-doubts as such, because once I got into it, I saw that I was doing well in design. So I was like, okay, no, this is where I'm meant to be, and just thankful to God that I was able to cross that hurdle and come past.
Right.
But a lot of my challenges came after architecture, I would say. During architecture, of course, it's a crazy journey, college life, where you're learning, you're having fun, there's sleepless nights, all of that is there. But once you get into the real world, there were a lot of challenges that I faced. So that is again you trying to cope up with the system that is there, and then your skills again, what level are you at and what is the market demanding right now. So how do you kind of cope with that? You first understand what is going on. So, and the job market in architecture is very it's really not that well paying as such.
Right, I really want to touch upon a little bit about understanding about how the job market basically is for the architects, right? Because they have different challenges there, right? Because you need to be more creative, you need to be part of the market.
Yeah.
Like new things are coming in, new design, new techniques. There are so many technologies that is being used and things like that. So, did you actually want to start something of your own? Or say, let me explore, let me learn some work, let me work under somebody, get a learning, and then do something of my own. What was your aspirations?
So I did want to learn to, work under somebody to learn, and I did that right after college. From my internship, I did work for a year, and then after that, I really wanted to kickstart by myself. So that's when I actually faced with the hard reality, where I started off with I had immense self-belief and courage in me. I think I get that from my mom, because from childhood, whatever I do, she's been like that one person who'll always tell me, no matter what you dream, you can really do it. You have to put all your heart and soul. You can do it. You can do it.
That's
so
very nice.
No matter I fail or whatever I slip, I still have that voice inside me that tells that no, it's okay, you have to try again, get back up. That's how it was. So I started off by my own, but then I saw that there are so many things. So in construction industry, when you get out, right, so majority of the people that you're dealing with are men. And then as a newbie, you are scared, you have skills, but you really don't know how to put it forward. The language of communication also, there's something that you have to learn newly, right? So I did face with a lot of, I was not so confident with myself, because
it's moreover like this profession itself is more of a men dominating, right?
It is.
Because that is what I hear, because I'm sure I want to understand how did you even face that, because not many of them want to come into the field, go for site visits and interact with all the ground level people.
It is also physically challenging. For example, interior designing is still fine to an extent because you're indoors, but construction, when you have to go to site visits, you're standing in the sun all day long, and then you're supervising if things are going fine or not. It also takes a toll on your body as such. So as a female, I'm not saying it's very difficult as such, but it definitely is challenging, and it has to be one person's, you have to take the call if you're really ready for it. So a lot of people kind of hesitant, and they stick back to only, the design part and not really the execution. But a lot of us, people like me, want to be out there. Like I enjoy doing, I want my designs to be executed, and I want to go through the entire process. So it is challenging in that aspect.
How did you prepare yourself? Because you knew that it is a dominating profession, right? You have to get onto the ground floor
Yeah, yeah.
and interact with various kind of people.
Yeah.
Okay, right? Maybe from the ground level people, who
Yeah,
are doing
from your
the-
laborers,
from the
your
labor, they don't
contractors,
come
everybody.
on time, and their communication is a challenge.
Yeah.
Their behavior is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
The ways they look at a female, especially when they dressed up and come, dominating again, talking different kind of languages. How did you prepare yourself to say, I am there?
I think first thing is that you have to really believe in yourself that you are trained for this profession. You have put in 5 years of your life, trying to acquire this skill. So you have to first know that you have it in you and you don't have to doubt yourself, because the world is always going to question you. They are not going to give you the ready thing. Also, you have to be there. You have to be confident. I think being confident in your own self is very important. If I'm going to go to the site, I think initially I was a little scared, I think to an extent. So people will always have lots of questions. They'll be like, oh, why are you doing this? So you have to be able to give them an answer. You have to be confident in yourself and you have to be confident in your skills. So I think that's a huge part of it.
Right, putting your succession growth onto this field, preparing yourself very hard. Yes, I'm going to be facing these. Lot of challenges may come across and things like that. Did you somewhere feel I'm focusing more on this, but where is my personal life going? Did you even plan how you want to take it forward from a personal perspective? Did you have that work-life balance, what people talk about in the corporate today, right? So how was that? Because usually corporate life, okay, as a designer as well, you can just say, okay, I'm going 9 to 5 job, do my work, I don't need to visit, I submit my work, and then I'm out. And I go weekend enjoy. But this is something different.
Yeah.
Right? You have to get onto the floor there and then talk to people, get each and every minute things to be implemented on time. Otherwise, your stakeholders, that is your customers, you may lose the customers. Right? And they may question you quite a lot of things, or they may doubt on your capabilities as well, right? So how did you manage those?
Begin with can you repeat the question?
I can definitely. So ideally I want to understand, how did you manage your personal life? And when you
balance,
say, right, because see, you're just out of the college, you're still in that high blood, saying that, okay, let me party, enjoy, I need some vacation, need some time for myself. But your career goal is something different, where you say, I have to get onto the floor, tough job, need to do quite a lot of site visit, start talking to people who are at the ground level, who are the laborers, and you don't give a proper timelines and everything to your customers. Right? Okay, then they may start doubting on your capability as well. Right? So living out your personal desires and oh God, I don't have time for my life where I want to hang around, no vacations, need to face all these. Right? So how did you balance both?
I think it's still a very difficult challenge. It looks very glamorous to say that we have the work-life balance, but the ground reality is that it's really, really hard to attain that balance. Even if you try to attain that, your social life becomes really nil, because you're giving yourself time and your work time, but you don't have time left for anything. So it is a juggle. I don't know if I'll ever be able to achieve it, but I think what works better is to work in phases.
Very right.
So that works a lot more better, because when you are into work, you put your everything into it, and then you take a break for 1 week, 2 weeks, or maximum how much ever you can. It is a challenge to kind of meet up to the expectations. It is a challenging field to be in, but I think it is a competitive world, and everything, all the resources, the way it is available today, it has never been before. So I think there's a lot of help also, and so if you really want to do it, I think you will find a way and you will be able to do it. So I think that's how the journey has been. So you keep constantly learning, you keep getting better. So
yeah, I've always believed in this, right? People say that if you have if you have a will, you will fill that. Okay, but I will say, you find a way to fulfill your will.
First you say yes, and then you figure out how.
Exactly.
A lot of times there have been clients that come to me and tell that, can you do this? I know that probably I haven't done that before, but then I'll first say yes, I'll do it, and then later I'll figure out how to do it and then actually do it. So a
Right.
lot of times saying yes to opportunities is also like a huge
Very
part of
right,
it.
because I think that way give us an opportunity to learn,
Yeah.
explore more, and think out of the box.
Yeah.
Once we just close the door saying that no, I don't think I can do it, I'm not expert on this, then what is that new creative that you're going to create? Especially in the field that and the industry that you are in, you need to be more creative, think out of the box, and see what is the maximum output with the less money.
Yeah.
Right, that's what everybody expects you as an engineer.
Yeah.
Right, that's good. So what do you want to the difference, if I have to tell you, you're already an entrepreneur right now, having your own company. Okay, what's leadership and entrepreneurship for you?
A leadership and entrepreneurship. So, in how I see it personally, considering that I have been in architecture as a designer for the last 4-5 years, so for me, leadership is to get more, to groom more the women. So have some interns who work for me, or
Mhm.
people who work alongside me. So to really encourage them and to show them that you can do a lot, and then you have that potential to groom them is what I see leadership as.
Mhm.
And going further, I think that's the direction that I'm looking forward to also, like where create an environment where there's holistic so as architecture, the industry is quite a bit of toxicity is there when it comes to work.
Mhm.
People are really obsessed. They are
Mhm.
so obsessed that they really don't care about, I'm not generalizing, but I can say the majority of the people are like very obsessed with designs. They don't care about their personal lives. The relationships goes on a toss. Their health goes on a toss. Their mental health goes on a toss. There are many people who are addicted to so many substances and stuff.
Mhm.
So I saw a lot of these around me. And then what really struck was that I want to be a good designer, but at the same time, I don't want to lose out on my family.
Mhm.
I don't want to have bad relationships. I don't want to get ended up in divorces or whatever,
Mhm.
no, because of my career.
Correct. I
So
agree with you.
because I am so obsessed with only one thing that I don't want to lose out on everything. I want some balance, because at the end of the day, we do everything for
Ourselves.
ourselves, our families, our near and dear ones, right? So I think that was a major thing that I learned.
Mhm.
Because I saw a lot of toxic environment around me,
Mhm.
but success for me or leadership is me taking a direction towards where even when I grow my team from here on, they have like a balanced life. I'm not saying very very balanced in terms of but your work, it is achievable at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But I think as an entrepreneur, it's difficult. I think in job, you still can strike
Strike
a
a
balance
balance.
because you get your weekends off.
Mhm.
But here you have to prioritize. One thing, if you can prioritize what is important and delegate what you can delegate to others, I think you can still achieve a lot of balance in your life.
Great.
Yeah.
Very exciting question that I came into my mind right now.
Yeah.
I know you're already in entrepreneurship. Okay, you
Yeah.
understand the complete role of a leadership and an entrepreneurship, right? What inspires you? Do you want to just say, okay, let me do this, and now now you're going to start building your career in personal life and things, right? So, do you want to continue to be an entrepreneurship, or want to say more into the leadership?
I want to be an entrepreneur. I
Very
want to be a
nice.
businesswoman. I
Mhm.
want to be able to, make money, but at the same time also create a lot of value with a sense of purpose
Mhm.
towards the thing. So I want to be, and I think I've already started on that journey when I took a step forward
Mhm.
right after my college, after a year when I started my firm. But it is a challenging journey, considering somebody who comes from a I don't have anybody in my family or in my friend circle who were already in the same industry. For
Mhm.
me, I was a complete newbie when I got into this.
Mhm.
So I just started from scratch, like literally every single thing I had to from experience. I fell down, I got up, fell down, got up. Through mistakes, I've learned a lot of things. So, but there's something inside me, some hunger that just doesn't give up. I'm like, no, I'm not stopping anytime here. I
That's
have a
very
long
nice.
way to go. So I think
I think now I understand why from 7th standard you have already stuck into my mind. Okay, that's the love passion. That's the love and the
Yeah,
passion that you
passion,
have for
yeah.
the for this role. I really admire that and truly inspiring because this itself is a dominating as we all discussed. Okay, but tell me one thing: how have you actually carried that toxic environment and gone home, and how have you changed those emotions?
it was a very bad phase of my life when I have to see, right? So I would go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I would come home like 8 o'clock, and there were days when I came home at 11, 12, 1. But you have to understand that your career is not your life, it is a part of your life. So I see this a lot in my specific industry, in architects, among architect and designers, that they just, I know that our designs are very dear to us. We love them. We love our creation. But we don't have to just get so obsessed, because there are different parts of your life that you have to. So my family life was so affected. So when I would go back home, I was so frustrated. I was like, those negative emotions were so in my head. I would remove that on my parents,
Huh.
or when I speak to my sibling. It comes out in different ways, right? And they didn't do anything to deserve that, right? So it's your fault that you're putting that out on.
Right.
So I had to take a tough call and then decide that no, I can't be doing this anywhere. And then considering that everybody else is doing, you'll feel like, yeah, it's normal, right? So that's how a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to change it. But I do believe in having a holistic life, and your relationships, your self life, your spiritual life, all these are equally important, considering your career and financial life.
Very right. I think in that way, unless and until we don't have a good backbone for our family, right? How well you can achieve. Like example, when you say that I don't want to get through a divorce and that kind of a relationship, definitely that's a toxic thing, right?
Yeah.
And also emotionally it's going to affect us, and also
Yeah.
career wise, it's not going to give us some kind of a weightage where we want to fulfill our dreams. Okay, I think right step. I think you've already understood the kind of emotions, because emotions cannot be managed. I mean, it cannot be controlled. It has to be only managed.
Yeah.
Right? I think in that ways, how did you even react? Were you reacting or responding to your, the fellow workers that you had with, and how did you manage reacting or responding to your family members?
I think the social setup is such that you always, in your work culture or to your colleagues and all, there you can't really be yourself. You will just, you're saying yes, no, and you're trying to just maintain a balance, and you're set to a certain environment. Your real thing doesn't come out there. People around you, your close ones, are the ones that get to see the wild and the worst side of you. Like, it's sad that our closest ones see that, right? So it all comes down to family. But is it really making justice that you put that worst side to you? You're supposed to give your best side to your family. But it's your call. You have to make a decision that no, I don't want to put my family through this, and I don't want to put my own mental health on a toss. Because what's the point of it at the end?
What are you achieving?
Yeah, what
Right?
are you
We don't
really
have
doing?
peace at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So once you work from morning till evening, you don't have a peaceful
I have
sleep
seen
in the
this
family.
situation where I've worked, right? So like they're not worried about the kids, and then even your child deserves that attention, that love and care. So when we're so obsessed with something, there's something that you have passion, but your obsession is something else. So I see a lot of obsession in this field. So I don't want to be obsessed as such, but I love what I do. But I want to keep some boundaries to it.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I think setting up boundaries for ourselves,
Yeah.
few things is very important. See, one thing, whatever the design that we do or whatever work we do, we love doing it. And it's good to us. Especially when you say you're designing it, you're happy designing it. But how well the customer is accepting it, right? There are some customers who think it from a different perspective. Okay, how difficult or easy is it for you to think from their perspective to do your designing?
This is a tough one, but
Yes, right, because you're designing for your own way, Okay, now example, if I have to say I'm your customer, I have my own dreams.
Yeah.
Okay, how well can you understand my emotions first?
Yeah.
Okay, and then draw my design or design my home based on my likings. Like, how easy or difficult is it for you to understand your customer's perspective and make your designs?
So when we work in a very organized way, it gets a lot easier. I think when you're working in a very free-flowing way, it's a lot more difficult. So it's very easy for me to identify what you like, because there are so many options. I will show you those options, and then you can pick and choose, and I can really understand you. But there are certain places where we'll have to draw a line when our customers want, because of the functionality aspect. So there we'll have to, because we are experts in a certain industry, we know what will work and what will not
work. Okay.
So that's where we have to explain to our clients that okay, this is achievable and this probably is not a good idea. So
I know. I think because the customers usually come with a fantasy world, saying that I want a Disney world and having the colorful things. I want that. I want this. Right? How do you actually make them understand? They are tough customers.
I know.
I'm like, dude, I have given you. This is what. This is my daughter's dream, and I really want her, wardrobe to be looking like this. I really want these kind of pastel colors, and I need these kind of color combinations. Right?
Yeah.
How would you manage them?
I think you have to be polite, you have to be kind, but at the same time respectfully and very decisively, you explain to them. Actually, a lot of the work goes in educating as well. So they are not coming from a bad point of view that they want to shout at you or they want this or something. It's just their own dream and it's their house that they're building at the end of the day. So you have to be considerable to their emotions because that's where they're going to be living, right? So you have to understand from what point they're coming, from what this, and then at the same time you provide your a professional advice to them as well as to what will work, what is achievable, and what might be something which might not go that well, that they'll enjoy the space for a long term. So
somewhere do you feel this is actually helping you to build your patience level?
It does. It tests your patience level so much.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be very patient, or else you get angry at one and then you lose your temper. A lot of your hard work will go into waste.
Was there any one situation you want to share where you said, oh God, I cannot do this? I can't, not anymore.
There have been a lot of situations, but then I have always held back from speaking because they are also speaking if a client is also angry. It's their emotional state, and their emotional state doesn't have to affect my emotional state. I have to be neutral and try to know that okay, this person is heated right now. I don't have to get heated too. I think this is where the mentorship and other things have helped me to kind of balance out, know that okay, my EQ is under balance, that I know this is a temporary thing. The person is not bad just because he's probably in a temper or such. So
right. With designing, implementing your customer calls, dealing with your labels, what made you write a book?
I think a book came from a very different standpoint. So what happened right after college is, in college I was very good at designing, and I had that courage within me. I had that drive that I want to go out and become an entrepreneur. I thought that I have everything that I need. I can just go out and then give the world my designs and I'll make nice money, all that. But the world kind of hits you, like the way to make money is a very different thing, and being creative is a very different thing. There are two different things, and for you to be able to bridge both of this is like an art, like seriously. So that it was a confused phase for me. So my book again refers to this itself, that how did I go from confusion to clarity. So clarity in any journey, specifically if you're an entrepreneur and you're getting into an industry, whatever, you have to have that sense of clarity as to where you're taking your business. Else you're just going in circles and you don't know where you're heading, right? So how my journey, from how I went from confusion, and what are the things that I went through, what are the things that I assessed myself, my values it could be, or my purpose in life, what I really want from within. Because currently in this generation where the social media specifically, everybody is trying to influence you. You once open the Instagram and then scroll, you'll find 5 different people telling you 5 different things.
Right.
And then it's very easy to get influenced, but to really know what you really want and then to align that with your real values, and then kind of streamline as to, okay, this is the direction that I'm going in. So that's where a lot of clarity came into my life when my mentorship helped me a lot to gain that clarity and the sense of direction. Of course, with support, without support, the speed is different.
You're
Right. So if you come from a background, you already have a set of support system, and a lot of things are set for you. But when you're beginning from scratch, you start from a different starting point. But then if you have that clarity, you know you're heading in the right direction. I think speed will eventually catch up. So
I think also adding up to that, when you already have a clarity about what is that I want to do, I think that also clarity helps you to be a successful entrepreneur today.
truly,
Right?
it
At
does.
least
It
building
does.
your business, what are the different stages that I have to build in, right? Because it is a competitive world today.
It is,
In
yeah.
fact, if I have to tell you, I think the civil is
Industry.
actually booming up right now.
Yeah.
Agree with me or not? Because
Yeah,
it is
it
just not only in India. What I have seen, Dubai has a larger market on this.
Yeah. Truly.
Dubai has a very large, and it is a high-paid profession there.
Yeah.
And at least India has not grown till
Till
there.
that, yeah.
But Dubai has actually, they're excellent paymasters. Even the software engineers don't get the way that civil engineers get in
Yeah,
Dubai.
and the luxury market there is
Yes.
also like the interiors crazy. It's
Right, because the architecture there and the kind of luxury that they have and things like that.
Yeah.
Right. So, do you have any plans to say, okay, let me also to learn some of the technologies or some of the?
It is very
techniques
interesting, but
coming from
again,
there?
the infrastructure here slowly, I think we're catching up.
Mhm.
But it will take time for India to go there. But
Mhm.
first India domination, then global domination.
All right, I hear you. I
So-
hear you so much. All right. If I have to know more about Nitya, okay, as a person, okay, what is that you want to say?
Me as a person, I think I'm a very free-spirited girl who just I love my work. I love being around the people that my family and everything. I don't have that many.
What next if I have to ask you? Like, see, you've already set up your business. What is the vision that you have for the next 2 years? I'm sure you must have had quite a lot of projects that you're working on right now.
Currently
right?
we're working.
Okay. What is the next level that you want to take up?
So the next, considering that I'm somewhere, I've began and I'm on the way to, I've already set up my office and all that. Next will be, I'll be expanding my team, grooming my team. I think that's what I'm looking next into. So then slowly take on more work and do work that really drives us, and the work that we enjoy doing also. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's a very nice vision that you have pertaining to your goal, right? Okay, this is where I want to setting up and expanding your team. What it comes to personal life?
A personal life.
I know your mom may be watching. Okay, so let's be. So you're open to talk about it.
The personal life is good. I think I'm 26 now, so I'll be 27 this coming year. So 2 years down the line I might get married, and then life is going to be the same. I want to travel.
What's the kind
explore.
of partner that you want?
I think that also over the last few years, I think I've got a lot of clarity on what kind of partner that I want. One simple thing is I want them to be like my family. I think nobody really understands me like my family does. So with them, I can just be who I am. I'll do whatever I want. So I want my partner to be somebody who is similar, like who just allows me to be myself, who just compliments me but not really controls. No.
Like, Nitya, it's been almost 3 years since you've been an entrepreneur.
Yeah, 3 to 4
Right.
years.
What do you think, what are the first steps that you need to start, or visualizing, or what could be your mission to build up those bricks to be an entrepreneur?
I think the first thing there are a couple of things, okay? So we can consider them as the 3 C's. So first is clarity. You need to have the clarity that, okay, is this what you really want to do? So there are a lot of people that are meant to do business. There are a lot of people who are probably great at a job, Again, you have to really know from the type of person that you are, from your own values, that what are the things that you what mean more to you, what are the things that you connect to. So if you have the clarity as to you want to get into the entrepreneurship, and it comes with a lot of setbacks, also a lot of plus points. So you have freedom, but then again you're working a lot harder as well. Here you have your own free time. You get you work only 5 days in a week, and then you have your week off and everything. But as an entrepreneur, you have to be all in, and sometimes initial few years you have to put a lot more out there. So you have to have the clarity that, okay, this is what I want to do, and I want to get into the field. I want to be doing my own projects or whatever. So if you have that clarity, the first step is clarity. Know what you want to do, so that when you get in, you are in the right direction, or else you'll go lost, because there's so many things, right? Second is, again, you have to have that courage. Because if you don't have the courage, then how will you go approach people? And then you have to be confident from within, and then you have to have that courage that this is for you and you can do this, right? And the third is your competency, your skill. So a lot of times we feel that we have all the skills, but you have to really assess your skills with what the market is demanding. So we have low skill, mid skill, and high skill. So where are you with your skill set, right? So again, your skill set will also be equal to the amount that you earn. So if you are having a high skill, your designing skills are a lot better, and you're able to design really good, so then again your income is equal to that. But it's like a combination of these 3 C's. Only when you are able to have all the 3 is when you have to actually get into your entrepreneurial journey, is what I feel. But considering construction industry, there's one more C that we can add, that is your contacts, that is your networking. So this plays a huge role, because if you don't go out there speak to a lot of people, then how are you going to get? Because this industry works a lot more on word of mouth. No matter how much the world has evolved, and there's digital marketing and so many other tools, definitely they help, and they will get you projects. But the magic that word of mouth has, because people are putting their hard-earned money into this, all their lifetime. It's more like a dream and their lifetime goal for a lot of people when they make their homes and everything. So that trust factor is a huge thing. So you have to have those contacts, you have to speak to people, you have to speak to vendors, and so many other things. So contacts is a huge part.
If I have to recycle on the conversations that we've had, there's a lot of elements involved in this, right? Your coordination with your laborers, okay, your designing team, implementing them, also looking at networking to get in more business. You have to play all the roles together. Okay, like example, maybe in one of the project it is already in the implementation, another project it is still into the designing, another one you actually need to look at, okay, what after this next one, because if you're still in the designing mode, we are not sure whether how the conversion is going to be. Okay, playing a role of all these, how stressful is it going to be?
It is, but it is stressful. A lot of times you miss out something, and then you again get into the panic mode and all that. But you have to be very organized. If you're not organized, a lot of things get missed out, and then you have to have proper structure in which you work. Right. Initially, it's very unorganized and everything, but the more you're organized, I think the more you'll be efficient, or else the efficiency also somewhere decreases. So you know that, okay, these many projects I have in hand, now is the time, probably the work is getting less, so I need to start pitching for more work. So you have to be organized in a systematic way. When you do, it's a lot more beneficial for you and your team both.
It's definitely not a one-woman show.
No,
you
it is a
definitely need
team.
an army for this, right? Because once you start getting and adding up more projects, you need to start also, hunting for more resources. Okay, that is when you start adding new projects and all. But somewhere, I have seen quite a people, taking advantage of these. especially when it comes during the initial stages of the conversations. When you go meet your customer, they explain to you, sit with you for hours together. This is what I want, that's what I want these colors, I want that pattern. You put in a lot of effort, spend 1 month, 1.5 months, designing the complete plan for them. You submit the plan to them, and after that they vanish. How do you handle this? How do you come up with those frustrations?
So initially, these problems are the things that a lot of youngsters face as soon as they get into the industry, because we're not taught how to, ask for money, or how do you propose your structured way of working and all. So what we do is, somebody comes, they give you your requirement, you immediately start designing. You end up designing the entire thing. You even give the entire design to them, and then when you ask money, they suddenly ghost you. So this has personally happened to me as well. In my first year when I started working, and it's very heartbreaking. It takes a lot of courage to begin first thing. So when you begin and then somebody does this to you, it's very emotionally very
How did you handle those situations? Because it's heartbreaking. You have put in hell
so
lot
much,
of work to it. Okay, then and they just vanish, and then the whole hard work is just gone, taking robbing off your work, right? How did you handle those, and what corrections did you made in the next project?
See, first thing is, I felt horrible. To an extent, even I started doubting myself. Am I even worth to be in this industry? You start questioning yourself. That's what I did. But the thing is that you have to remember that these are not problems that can't be solved. This is probably, you don't have much experience, that's why you made these mistakes. So when you work in a systematic way, a lot of these problems can be resolved. So for example, when a client comes, first you take their requirement, you have to make your proposal, then pitch to them, tell them this is what this is, and then once you pay your advance, then I'll begin my design. So because we are newbies and we don't know how to speak to them regarding money, we just start. So but there are certain procedures, if you follow, you will save yourself from this trap of getting cheated and then going into that self-doubt mode, and then asking yourself if you're really doing what you have to be doing.
So what were the other takeaways, like if you have to say, especially when you're talking to these laborers, people coming from different cities, okay, how did you even prepare yourself, saying that different language barriers and different mentality people come in, okay, how was your preparation to get into that typical entrepreneurship?
I think you have to be very flexible in this industry, because if you're rigid that okay, this is how I am and these are the only ways in which I will work, I can't be like okay, I will not, because you have to go, if you want your designs to be executed, you have to be able to communicate. If you are not able to communicate, then there's a huge gap. You will see disaster once it has come out, right? So language is a barrier, considering we are in Bangalore, and then a lot of the laborers are from north, and then I am lucky that I have learned Hindi, I know Kannada and multiple languages. I think South Indians have that thing, we
adopt to the environment very easily.
Yes. So I from childhood have kind of learned a lot of language, so I was somehow able to. But I see my friends also, but the thing is, you have to be flexible, you have to be ready to learn. That's when you will actually be able to implement your designs, or else it's very, very challenging.
Right. Yeah. Help me out with one success story. You said, oh God, I deserve to be here, and I did give my best, my heart felt it, like one experience.
Like, see, when I began, I started with the smallest odd jobs. When you begin, you can't expect that somebody will give their big bungalow for you to design or something. So I started with really small stuff. So I think this year has been very rewarding for me, in terms like I got a lot of dream projects that I always thought maybe will take a long time, but then they actually came through. And those moments I really pinch myself. I'm like, okay, this is really happening in my life, and I thank God so much that thank you so much. Finally, like what I really wished for and what I started this for, slowly taking shape. But I think you have to trust your journey, or else initially, if I had given up then, I would probably not be able to enjoy, because it takes time, but things will come your way. you have to be.
What is that most you enjoy being an entrepreneur?
Most I enjoy is working according to my own flexible timing, and then being able to really create value which I want to create, right? So I think that in your job or something, it is little difficult. You have there are certain guidelines that you have to probably follow, but I think I enjoy the freedom of work, as well as having the liberty to do my own, have my own design thoughts and all that.
So this industry itself is, as you said, that it is more of the word of mouth and building network. What are the different strategies that you use in building networks? Because this is not to do with posting some of the reels or something onto the Insta, the social media, right? So it is more to do with building network, building that kind of confidence, and showing them the real time of work. Because I have seen many of them, any customers come to you, they say, I want to see the kind of work that you have done. You may have to take them to your client, the work that you have done, explain to them this is how it is and things, right? So what is your different strategy to get in people, to get in more business?
Documentation is a huge part. Once you've completed your work, it's very important to document them, and then make like a really nice presentation, keep it ready. You have to socialize a lot. You have to go to a lot of events. You have to speak about yourself. I think speaking about yourself is that's the most important thing. A lot of people are so hesitant to speak about our work, but that is the one thing that you actually have to do. And it's not like you're probably selling yourself, but it's just something that you're doing. And if you don't speak about yourself, how else will somebody know what you're doing, right? So they may be expecting that you should probably. So you're missing out on so many opportunities when you don't really, you have to be your own brand ambassador. You can't expect that somebody else will come and market for you. Specifically when you're beginning, you have to be your own phase of your company.
How is your preparation? Because if you see, every day there is something new coming in. Okay, different designs could be, maybe the combination of the colors as well. If you have to see more eco-friendly today, or more environmental friendly and things like that, right? So how are you actually doing a lot of self-learning to upgrade yourself there?
I think once you stop learning, you're dying. I really believe that, because if you're not upgrading yourself with what is coming up and the current then what's the point? You're not evolving. You have to evolve at times. And learning is always, it keeps your mind active, right? Why would somebody not want to? I love educating myself about new things that are coming up in the market. There are a lot of ways, and you can probably save your clients money as well. There's so many things, innovative things that are coming up. A lot of sustainable options that are there. So it's beneficial for everybody at the end of the day. So it's very important to keep educating yourself and be a lifetime learner, or else I think.
So how does that work, building network, when you say, see, we will not be able to go tap anybody's house and say, okay, fine, dude, I'm doing this, right? So do you have any different platforms, any community here to, help you building network? How do you build networks?
One thing is, of course, your close circles. Once you speak in your close circles, your family and your friend circles. And one more thing, how a lot of work comes through is from your past clients. They end up, showing their house to somebody else, and then that's one thing. And there are communities like BNI and all that. People are benefiting from that also, but I'm not a part of any of those, but I see that people are probably getting some work from there too. So basically you have to be able to put yourself out there and speak for yourself. I think that's like the huge part. And then even among your circles, it could be your engineers and stuff, even they get a lot of questions, so you have to probably build connections where they also recommend you. So that's the huge part of this.
Right, with being so serious entrepreneur right now, having your own team, you have to lead the team as well, dealing with quite a lot. Somewhere that notorious Nitya is missing somewhere. It's getting more
so
into a mature way.
There was a phase where I stopped smiling, and then I questioned, like, where is it gone? So a lot of those moments come as well. So you have to keep reminding yourself that your work is not everything. There's a lot more to your life than your work. You have to be yourself. So,
right.
You have to keep reminding yourself that.
Right. I know one, I think somewhere you've already stabilized your business right now, building good networks, getting some couple of innovative projects that you're having, right? What could be your takeaways? What are some of the changes that you really feel that, to get there at the top? What is my preparation for today to be there?
I think the first step next going forward is building a team.
Mhm.
I think you cannot be a one-man army at all. You have to build a strong team which aligns with your purpose, where you're looking forward to build your company, right? So you have to have a team that has the same vision as you. Else, it's all like you're running in one direction, everybody else is. So they have to align with your vision, and then you all work together. So I think that is my next step, considering that I've done like the basic footwork and all that. So next step is building my team, a strong team that we all align with our values and doing work that is meaningful to all of us. So that's where I look.
Do you really say that you really need to do something? Because you also mentioned saying that in your from your college days, okay, you're only the women who actually got into an entrepreneurship, especially in this industry, right? All the others have shied away and been sideways and moved into different professions, or just sitting at home, or maybe working under somebody. What is that one message that you want to tell women who are doing their civil engineering and things like that? Right? What inspiration that you want to give as an entrepreneur, women entrepreneur, where it is a dominating industry?
See, when we are in college, when you look at your, friends or probably everybody, so you have similar skill sets, you're equally competent. Then after college, a lot of people, they just step back. I don't know why. I feel as women, not right after college, but again once you get married and all, of course you're expected to do a lot more than a man. They do just the work, and then you're supposed to manage your family, your household, and it's a lot more challenging for women. So I feel like they take a step back, but then I feel like you have to, if you really have it in you, you really should give it a try. A lot of people don't even give that try because they're they listen to all the voices around them and not the one that is within. So it's a very rewarding feeling. You should definitely give it a try, because I feel that the initial few years may be hard, but then once you get a grip on it, it's not that difficult. So you can slowly manage things.
Manage these things. Right.
So I feel like they should not give up on their dream. So they should really give it a try, seriously. Else you'll always be in that regret, right? So what's the point? You've given so much of your life already to it, but give one more chance and then put yourself out there. A lot of women don't believe in themselves, is what I see.
Absolutely right. If you have to see, even in the industry today, okay, we find quite a lot of them who are doing interior designing, where it is just matter of only designing. Okay, I'm done with my job. They don't get into the floor. Okay, they don't get into the floors, start implementing, interacting with from the ground level work. What message that you want to tell these women? Please, it is just not only a designing. Don't be just only an interior designer. When you have passion towards it, okay, build that courage, get onto the floor.
It. Yeah, seriously.
Right.
You have to give it a try, then only you will know that it's worth it, like because if you don't give yourself that option to actually take a step forward and try it, they'll always keep doubting themselves and all. So you have to put yourself out there, believe in yourself, because nobody else will. I guess you have to be your own cheerleader. And as per the skills, you can always learn with the flow. It's not like I'll always be 100% ready and get onto the field, right? So even when I started off, I didn't know everything about it, but you have to take that first step, and then from there you'll make mistakes, then learn from that, take your next step.
Exactly.
So if you're really scared to take the first step itself, then you'll probably never go in the direction
I
itself.
always said the best way to start is start.
Yeah,
I think that's one
really.
of the learning that we've always had from our mentors.
Yeah.
Right? It's always say, no, let's try. It
Let's
is okay to
try,
fail. Okay, let's see what is that.
We will
can
make
learn from
mistakes.
it. Yeah, it's fine.
But
to
you
make
learn from
mistakes.
them, and then next time you don't repeat them.
Repeat the same mistake, but make another mistake.
Yeah, make a different one. You don't repeat the same one, right? So,
right.
So it just it's a very rewarding field. The feeling of being able to implement what you design, to see it come to life, and then when you see your clients' reactions to them, so it's very good feeling. I think people who design, they should have experienced that. So you have to give yourself a chance to actually put yourself out there. It can sound challenging from the outside, but once you get a hang of it, it's easy. You can get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm so glad. Honestly, very inspiring, because you've seen a lot of graph up and down, and you had a variety of skills in you, like starting from being a childhood, having passion towards the art and wanted to be an architect, then started off your own as an own company, right? And again writing a book, and also got yourself certified as a coach as well. Want to mentor quite a lot of people. I love the vision that you have to see how you want to build in your company.
Yeah.
Right, want to build in the team, get in some more innovative ideas. And I think as you said, many of them they shy away inside. Please,
Yeah.
women, come out into the industry and then say there is lots to do here.
Yeah, we
Right.
need a lot more women
Women in this
on
industry.
Yeah.
Right. Truly inspiring, I think. I must say, very strong. You stood by yourself, and I'm sure your parents have always stood by your families
Yeah,
there
they
for
have.
you.
Yeah.
Friends too, right? Because without their support, definitely not, right?
Yeah, I think that plays a huge role,
huge
your
role.
support system, right? So,
Mm. Right.
yeah.
What next, Nitya?
Next, I look at myself building my firm,
Mhm.
and then in terms of personal life, I kind of try to seek that balance as well in terms of this. But I want to make my firm the best firm in India.
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love the
that's
vision.
my
I
vision
love
for the
vision.
next 10 years, I can say.
Mhm.
So that's how I look at myself. So
Mhm.
we're on.
Right. And thank you so much. Too much inspiring. I think quite a lot of takeaways that I have, right? Being an entrepreneur, what are the different levels of thoughts that people can start thinking? And I think, like, a women, the courage that you need to have to get into this industry, interacting with various people from ground level to the senior people, and also different mindset of people. They come with different perspectives.
Yeah.
Right. And thank you so much for being on this show, and definitely I see you grow. Okay, and I wish you all the very best, and you success, and fulfill all your dreams professionally and personally as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being in this show.
Thank you so much
Right.
for having me. It was
Right.
lovely speaking to you.
A
Opening
few
out.
words about this, please. How was your journey?
It was really nice having this open conversation with you. I think you as a person are very, you give out that good energy where just feel you don't have. I didn't held back from anything. I just was able to share everything so freely. And this concept of midway masters, I was really fascinated by it, because we either speak to people after they have succeeded, or probably somebody who's still dreaming, but what goes on in between is what builds your character truly. Because when you fall and how you get back up, and then how you build yourself, these are steps that have actually taken to you to that platform where you're already there. So I think this journey itself is very and you are capturing the essence of this entire journey, so I think it's even more beautiful. There's a lot for people to learn through this medium, because this is what will actually help them build it, right? Because once you are succeeded, you will probably be able to share like only the few nuggets of it, but when you're going through, you'll actually know, okay, there's so much to deal with, and then if somebody is gone there, probably they've dealt with so much more. So
How was your experience drawing the river of your life?
yeah, that was like I literally had to sit with myself for like an hour or two, and then I had to literally think back, and then it kind of took me back, like, oh my god, so much has happened, it brought back a lot of memories, made me a little emotional, and then even think that, okay, I have a long way to go. So you reflect back on your journey. So a lot of times when you're looking forward, you can't really connect the dots as such, because it looks very confusing. But when you look back, everything that has happened in your life has happened for a reason. It could be any low, it could be any high, but it all joins, and then, like Steve Jobs says, you can't connect your life when you look forward, but when you look backward, everything connects. So
Right.
it was all connecting. It was a very beautiful experience to just draw out and write the thing.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
I am really glad that you enjoyed the journey of writing,
Yeah.
the river of your life. And thank you so much for being here, spending so much of time with us, sharing us your failures and success stories as well. I wish you all the very best.
Thank
again.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much. It
you.
was lovely talking to you.